The way I view retirement is your ability to leave that job or have that job go away and your lifestyle continue, and you're able to do what you want when you want. You're not beholden to a job for the necessities of life.
Welcome into the Get Invested podcast, a podcast about all things real estate and real estate investing, brought to you by Capital Velocity Investments and a part of the Matthias Talks Investing Substack.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another edition of the Get Invested podcast with your hosts, Jordan and Matthias. And as always, we're excited to be here to talk all things investing, real estate, and real estate investing. Today, we shall depart from our well-worn path. Matthias, we're going to take a brief respite from talking strictly real estate investing to talk about a more general topic, discussing essentially philosophies, ideas, approaches to retirement, what that word means, what it can mean, how some things seem to be getting baked in. I don't know, all kinds of different avenues to go there, but that's what we're going to be talking about. And I'm going to turn it over to Matthias now because something going on in his life is actually why we're doing this.
Yeah, so prompted the conversation is as we record this, I'll be leaving tomorrow to go down to my dad's official retirement ceremony from working in general. Obviously, he's retired out of the military. That was over 20 years ago, which seems crazy to me, but now he's officially done working. And me and some of the family members are traveling down there to kind of be with him for that and do all that. So that kind of prompted us to, hey, we haven't talked about retirement in general, our philosophy for it, and how I differ from some common wisdom on it, I guess, or some common how people view it. Maybe I view it a little differently, but that's what prompted our jumping into this conversation today.
Yeah. And I think that we do have different thoughts on it, but I also think that the thoughts on it in general of the conventional wisdom, as it were, I think all of that is also evolving pretty rapidly, especially as Gen X is now getting closer. I think, gosh, if there's any Gen Xers out there, they're going to be really mad at me that I made them more old than they are. But man,
Gen Xers are basically in their 50s now, right? Well, I mean, they're at the top end or the older end, right? Is in the 50s.
Yeah, I mean,
the
top part of
on.
Gen X, which is I think that's like 60s. I mean, late 60s, early 70s, right? So you're talking, they're in the mid 50s, so they're on their way. It seems crazy to think that boomers are the only ones who are retiring right now still, but
they were a big generation.
I think that just the ways in which the economy is changing, lifespans, expectancies,
that's true,
careers, all of that is, as that shifts, I think the approach is shifting. So I think this is a really pertinent topic. Just looking at my parents, my dad didn't really even ever have any sort of like, I'm retired now type moment or party, because he just switched. He stopped preaching and then he just started working in electrical work, and then he kind of just stopped doing that at some point and went back to part-time preaching, and now like he just kind of does things, but he is retired, but he's not at the same, he's a retired minister, I suppose, but other than that, he's not retired.
I think
work, so.
And I think that's I think it's a pretty good like segue into our general, and we agree on this, I think, our general philosophy about retirement. I mean, the data is pretty clear. All the studies they've conducted on like people who officially retire and go sit on the couch, they die super quickly. They have no purpose in life. They've worked in the mill for 38 years, and then they retired and they were gone like 2 or 3 years later after seeming relatively healthy the day they retired. I think I view retirement as almost exactly what your dad's doing. It's like, hey, retirement is removing you from the necessity of working the same job that you've been working or whatever your career was. So you don't have to do that anymore. But I mean, your dad loved it. So whenever he gets an opportunity to go preach, he probably does it. You know what I mean? Like if he wants to, he'll go preach. Or same with the electrical work. I think it removes the necessity of doing a specific type of work, the one that you use to support your family and build your life around. You no longer have to do that work as a job, as a means to sustain yourself. That, to me, that's what I view retirement as. You get to do whatever you want to either make more money, if that's something you're interested in, to support a different lifestyle or achieve a higher lifestyle or whatever, or go do charity, volunteer work, meaningful work, anything that gives you a drive and a meaning, but something that you're passionate about. Like, go do your passion projects that you've been wanting to do. You never got a chance to travel. You never got to do all these things. I think that's what retirement means to me is the ability to step back from a requirement to work a job, and now you go get to try other endeavors or do other things.
Yeah, this is obviously where my brain goes because that's my background, but I just think the word itself is incorrect. I don't know. I was going to say problematic, but I don't mean it in like any of the senses that we get arguments about in our country. I don't mean problematic in that way. I just mean it doesn't really encapsulate like
maybe
what
graduating.
It really is a lot of the time.
Graduating almost seems like a better term because you're like, I'm done with this portion. And now I'm off to do what I really want to do.
I mean, just the fact that retire is in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like all the different ways that word means, like, it's an old fashioned phrasing, but I'm going to retire for the night. That means you're like going to go to bed, like you're shutting it down for the day, for the day. So that's basically what it means. Like, oh, I'm going to shut it down. And what I was thinking about, though, I don't want to go too far down this one, but at what age does it switch from I'm independently wealthy to I'm retired?
That's a good question.
Like if you just said, "Oh no, I'm independently wealthy now," even though if that part of that is like your pension, your 401k, you're old enough to and Social Security, but it's not really any different. You're just older than the person who claims they're independent wealth. So if you just said, "Oh, I've graduated to my independent wealth phase," like that would completely like recalibrate.
That would be funny, but I think it's also a way to explain to people. Like I'm trying to think of who tells me that, we get retirees down here in Florida all the time. They'll come down and, so I'll be sitting at, one of our local watering holes or something and just, say hi to people as, hey, where are you guys from? Yeah. What do you do? And they're like, oh, we're retired. And I'm like, that means that they probably still do stuff. Right. Sure, but but they're, that tells me that they're done with whatever that career was that they had to do. But obviously they're traveling or whatever it is they're doing in Destin. So.
They reached a point. I mean, you reach a point, but not necessarily crossing a finish line. Like it seems like it used to kind of be. Now they reached a point where they could make this move that they probably had been planning for a long time, one way or the other. But even in that example, part of it is kind of just built into us as Americans because the first two questions you ask are, "Where are you from? What do you do?" Right? So So I guess that's where the retire answer comes in.
We have to have something to say at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so I correct people a lot. People go, "You're retired." You're retired because retired from the military means something very different than how I separated. Because I basically I did not stay and do a whole entire career that would allow me to have retired. It means different things for benefits and stuff. So I correct people on that just because it means different, something specific for military people. But I wouldn't consider myself retired. But I suppose you potentially could. If I got up from this job, this is the last podcast we ever recorded, and I never made another, bought another property with investors, I still wouldn't have to go work another job, in order to support my family. So, I mean, technically, I might have met some of those requirements to be retired, but I don't ever want to think of myself as retired. That, you know what I mean? That sounds terrible.
Yeah, and I think that's it, right? Like I think that's what we focus on is that I think of myself as retired when maybe for other people they see, I'm retired, which means I can do whatever I want. Like I've got all this in front of me I'm not chained to the job. And I think that's the part we do agree about. It's just like, oh yeah, that's the goal. It's not about not working. It's about working when you want or if you want, and whatever that work may be.
And what you want on.
And because I think I would imagine there's a lot of people. I mean, that would be kind of my plan is, I'm at a point where I don't need to do this thing anymore. Not because I don't like it, but just because I can now go do this other thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. And for instance, I have an uncle who is a CEO of a public, like an actual utility company, like a publicly traded company. And he's retired and he's been retired for years, but he's one of the busier guys around because he sits on boards for a whole bunch of charities and a whole bunch of different civic things. And you know what I mean? So it gave him the opportunity to go do these other things. And we were talking about HOAs yesterday, me and I don't even remember who I was talking to, but talking about HOAs. And for instance, you're on an HOA board. Somebody was asking me if I would ever go do that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have time to do half the things I'd like to do in my without signing up for anything else. But, one day, sure, that'd be something where I'd probably be pretty good at it, judging from my running a business over here that's very similar real estate business. I think it'd be something that I could pretty easily do. But that's kind of what I think about for retirement, is that allowing, getting to branch out a little bit without having to worry about, all the necessities of life, as it were.
Right. I think it's interesting, well, for you, I guess, in a way, because if you wanted to, I guess you could have the time if you just really wanted to be like, I want to go do these other things, HOA or something maybe a little bit more exciting. As much as I enjoy my time and like to help the community, you could do that, but right now you have a focus. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? That I had this focus and now I have a different focus, which that's one of the things about retirement, air quotes for people who aren't listening to this, but that I think is definitely changing, is because people change careers and jobs so much these days that it's almost like just one more career change rather than some end point other than, I guess, full-time work. But again, that 35-year-old who like sold a company and working on a new thing, but like on occasion because he can live off what he sold, is he I mean, he's not working full-time either, but no one's gonna be like, oh, he's retired.
I suppose there's plenty of people that don't work full-time to support themselves anyway, just like in the course of living their life. There's plenty of part-time workers that, they have a spouse that also earns, or maybe they just do something part-time that they do really well and is very lucrative. Plenty of career opportunities out there.
Well, so in that kind of approach of thinking, I think we need to just kind of define the criteria of being in this position and how to aim for it and like maybe recalibrate. It's not just, I'm going to build my 401k until I'm 65 or 68 or whenever Social Security kicks in, or I'm get to that point where I can, and then, cash it in. That is a model, but that's not what we're thinking about.
Yeah.
So maybe just kind of making that transition.
Yeah. So I think traditionally retirement's been defined whenever you get to the point where you've saved enough that you won't have to work again. Right. Like, so, you've done the calculations on, you've saved a big enough nest egg with Social Security and your whatever pension or whatever your financial plan is, that you've reached that age to where now you can officially retire. That's traditionally how it's been defined. And I would agree with that in saying that you no longer have to work that job to continue to build. But one of my big arguments with the general idea of investing is that you're living off of savings, not living off of basically cash flow from an investment. In my opinion, that's the only way I would consider myself retired, is that the cash flow from my investments will support me and my family for the foreseeable future, not tapping into a pile of savings and burning through that. And I think typically what's been sold to everybody is that, hey, you save up to, make up a number, 1.5, $2 million, whatever it is. And depending on the lifestyle you want to live, that'll be enough to support you forever. And my whole thought is like, what do you mean? Like, if you just got a stack of $2 million and let's say you put that in something that's very secure, that'll keep up with inflation, you're still just burning through your assets. Your asset is $1. To me, I don't understand why people subscribe to that, because then it is limited, right? It's always limited. If your lifestyle is limited, because if you increase your lifestyle, you better die sooner because you're going to run out of money, that kind of thing. To me, that's not the kind of freedom that I would want for people in retirement. I would want them to have built enough assets that the assets remain theirs the whole time, and they're assets that pay them enough to support the lifestyle like we've talked about. And so you're never tapping into that principal amount of savings per se. You're leveraging the cash flow from that to live your life.
Yeah, and to bring that together with the mindset, I think the idea of, I've saved up a big enough nest egg with the conservative earnings it'll have, and we like to take on the 4% rule. If I, live this way, it'll last me as long as I think I'm going to live, whatever that may be. And I don't know, just mindset wise, it seems like that's it's fixed, right? It kind of,
it's a trap, almost like
it's like you are living on a fixed income, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does seem to indicate like, okay, this is it. There's no way to make a big change. It doesn't seem,
right.
Like you've kind of planned it. So you're like, I have to say doing this exact thing for the next however many years.
Straight jacket until you.
Yeah. Croak. Rather because if, like you said, if you're making, enough on investments, even if like say the portfolio is the 2 million, like that's a $2 million portfolio of different investments that cash flow versus
Right.
just $2 million.
2 million. Exactly.
That's producing interest, I guess. Then you can do things with that, right? And then maybe you decide, oh, we really want to be able to do these other things, so we need to find a way to use the money that we have to invest differently. Maybe we go make a little bit more to add on top of it, then make a move. Right? You can. It just seems more dynamic in both mindset and reality, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And if you could live off the interest from your chunk of investment, that is effectively what I'm talking about, because you're never touching the actual. Granted, you're going to have to put a big stack in there to live off interest rates, but so be it. That that theoretically that might be the safest way. Just put it in a money market and live off of interest payments forever. I mean, you got 5, 10 million, whatever. You could live pretty good life off that, and you're never touching your 5 or 10 million. I get it. I'm a real estate guy, so that's where mine's going to be for at least the next however long I feel like doing it. But the point is that you shouldn't be looking to constrain your lifestyle according to whatever the 4% that you're able to liquidate every year or whatever that the financial advisors talk about. Yeah. I think it's very limiting. I think that's a good point.
And this may be a little bit off topic, but on the same kind of mindset, like the pension model as well, that's never going to be more than what the pension's going to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, I have a buddy who just retired from teaching, which means that he's well past the 30 at this point, but in which he can take his full benefits and pension. Mm-hmm. And that's awesome. But the funny thing is, like, he was retired, but then he literally had a job offer in South Carolina, like another school, like a week later. And he decided, well, I'm going to actually take a little bit of time off from teaching. And he's working at music venues because he loves music and concerts. But he could be a retired teacher who was literally working full time, like a month later. That's not.
Yeah. I mean, so many military guys did that.
Yeah.
My dad had to do that. Yeah. He's been working full time since he retired. That's just, that's just the way it is.
So my conversation with Mike is, well, if you go back, because he's still young. I mean, he started right out of college in 30 years. He's 50 something.
Yeah.
It's like, if you really want to teach more, you teach for, I don't know, 10 more years, 8 more years, and you just take the entirety of your pension and invest that. Like,
yeah,
you're
going to be,
you're going to be sitting pretty after that. And then when you retire, it's going to be a whole different ball game. It's not just, oh, I have a supplement to my income.
Yeah. And I like that, because that's what I tell people. And I talk to a lot of guys who are, looking at maybe 4 or 5 years left in the military going,
yeah,
okay, I've done 15, 16 years of this job, but I know that I'm going to have to work after I get out of the military. And I like to talk to those guys and say, hey, man, you can limit the amount of time you have to do another career to support your family. If you can, the more you can parlay your current income and then your retirement income after you retire while you're still working that other job, just like my dad's been doing. Like, if you're able to, just like you said, if you, instead of supplementing that retirement income, maybe get another full-time job, do another career for 5 years, depending on, your situation and everything. But you can vastly change, it's just delay that gratification a little bit more, or buy a few less toys in the last, because everybody who's done 15 years in the military, like, you've made, even if you're enlisted, like, you're making good money, and you're going to make good money and decent money in retirement, really, regardless of rank. You've accumulated some stuff, and inevitably the military guys, because you want to live life, right? So everybody, you got your cars, your boats, your trucks, and things like that. My message is always just, hey, you can have all those things and then some, but not at the expense of your future if you wait a little bit longer to get all that stuff. If you prioritize investing earlier, then on the back end, you can go buy all the boats and trucks and stuff that you want, the nicer houses, the travel, the world, everything, and not feel guilty about it and not be costing yourself in the long run.
Right. Just thinking about, well, so the military thing is a specific kind of scenario, and sort of the teaching one too, but especially the military, because you could be, I mean, your dad was a little over 40, right? The math plays out that you could retire before you're 40. If you go straight in. So yeah, you're really young at that point. You could, 10 years of using that to invest rather than spend, and you're in a whole new ball game. But we've kind of been a little bit meandering here about just kind of changing the approach of getting to a point essentially where you can choose what you want to do. And if that is do nothing and it's to move to Florida and sit on the beach, then more power to you. But it's about the choice, and that choice doesn't have to wait until 65, 68, or whenever it is that you can start getting distributions for your 401k or whatever, all the rules that are there. I guess that's 59 and a half, but you know what I mean? What's that conversation you have, I guess, just trying to turn this to a little more practical and pragmatic about, if someone's in their late 40s, early 50s, and they're kind of starting to look at it, but they haven't really ever thought about, my 401k, because it is invested, but they've not really ever thought about it and like how it actually produces and grows. And, what is that conversation like that you might have with them? Change their outlook of just not, I got to make it to this point, this age. It's not about the age.
I think a lot of them, they start, I guess I don't have to say a whole lot to them because they are looking, because they are starting to think about it. Like a 35-year-old doesn't really care much about his 401k because it's so far in the future that he's not too, he wants it to be invested correctly, so that it's growing, but that's about it. As you get closer to that age, investors I've talked to, they're becoming keenly aware of how that's, especially after like 2008 financial crisis, and then, kind of the COVID dip and all those stock market, major fluctuations in the stock market, that terrifies them because they've saved up that 1.4 million in the 401k over a lifetime of working really hard, and they lost $300,000 in a matter of weeks, according to the, if the stock market comes down 20-30% in a crash, that's really terrifying to them. So they are caring a lot about it. I guess I'm always like, I kind of say just what I'm saying now is that like, hey, I invest in assets that don't fluctuate like that. Obviously, plenty of people have lost money in real estate, but if you put that money with the intention of never having to sell, then you didn't lose that money in the stock market fluctuation anyway. If you don't sell those stocks, if you keep the same shares, whenever they come back, you'll have that, you'll be back. It's just in retirement, if you have to liquidate some of those shares after a big crash, now you're in serious trouble, and you've just cut years off of your timeline of how many years you can live, off the money, that kind of thing. So, was that what you were kind of asking, I guess?
Well, we're sitting here kind of just chatting about mindset about retirement. And I guess the next step of that would be like, okay, Mr. Man, I have been one of those people that just kind of thought about, okay, I like my job. Okay, I'm just going to keep working it for the next 15 to 18 years. And I'm going to get to a point where I'll get Social Security and I'll have enough money to do this and house, kind of just that standard sort of playbook, for lack of a better phrase. I was just thinking, how would you say, well, here's what you could do so that it's no longer this, I just got to make it to this age finish line.
Yeah. Well, as a serial investor, I just talk about what I've done, what I've seen, I guess, my philosophy. I just say, look, I invest for lifestyle, invest because I enjoy it, and I invest it because I pretty much always will. That's just something I've done my entire life, and it's never going to go away. But as a result, I've learned how it can be leveraged, all the different advantages to investing and different types of investing. I just tell, hey, you don't have to rely on these things, the pension, the Social Security, whatever. That stuff will all hopefully all come to you, but you have the ability to take charge of that so that you don't have to rely on the system or wait till you get older. What I say is that's what I do. I invest like a crazy man for 10 years, and then I have the freedom to do whatever I want, and I'll never have to rely on anything else. If they change retirement age, whenever you're able to withdraw from your 401k, whatever all those rules are, it doesn't matter to me, and it won't make an impact on my life. Obviously, I eventually want to be able to tap into my 401k if I want to. If they just lock it away forever, I'd probably be pretty bummed about that. But other than that, it's not going to have the ability to impact my life. That philosophy, that freedom is what I talk about to people. I tell people all the time, I don't plan on ever getting any Social Security. I'm not sure if it's going to be a thing by the time I get up to where I would be able to tap into it. But that's also just a mindset I tell myself, and it makes me prioritize buying more assets today.
Right. Even if you do like your job, you're like, well, I'm fine working this job for the next 15 years. Like I don't have any problem with that. I like my job, and that's a great position to be in. You like your job, awesome. But I guess the question would be, well, what would you do if you didn't have to work it? And if the answer is I'd still work it, be like, okay, cool. But then how awesome it would be, like, go work it when you didn't have to. I don't know. I know that, like, back to my buddy, the last few years he had already hit it, and he was like over. It's like he hit 30 and he's like 33 or something. So basically he always joked, he's like, oh, if they make me mad, I'm just like quitting, just walking out.
Yeah.
Right? He's like,
Yeah, that's true. The ability to walk away from something is pretty epic.
I want to go back to teaching when I'm in my independent wealth phase.
Yeah.
And because then I'll just be like, guys, I just got to tell you, I don't need this job. So don't push me.
Well, I mean, it's funny you say that, but the last like 2 years of my military career were that. I kind of told them I'm getting out at the end of, this assignment. So don't send me anywhere because I'll get out. You know what I mean? Like, by all means, stay here and use me, work me hard while I'm in this job, but I'm not doing another job. And basically, they shielded a lot of stuff that majors have to deal with from me because they knew it was like, he's not going to do that. Wilson's not doing that. So no, don't take him off that list. Don't put him on that list. He's not doing that. And so that is a nice thing to have. I don't have to work here. I'm doing it because I like it, but better watch it.
Yeah.
I would say one of the other reasons that, like, hey, I'm happy working this job until I hit retirement age and draw Social Security and I'll be happy. Like, that's a good place to be. I agree. But also companies have gone under before, man. Industries change,
Yeah, that's that one right there for sure.
And as technology advances, man, there's very few things that are going to be the same 15 years from now. I mean, there will be some jobs that don't change much, like welding or something, but the security of liking your job is cool. But in my opinion, you're not safe. You're never safe.
Yeah, it's not
industry.
Security. It's like cool that you like your job. I mean, that's where you want to be in one sense. But yeah, that's not necessarily security. It reminds me of one of the few smart things you've ever said. No, I'm kidding. One of the smartest things you've ever said.
There we go.
About that, there's just as much risk to not investing as there is to investing, because if you don't invest, the risk is betting on the status quo remaining. And
life happens.
You're betting on the status quo essentially, rather than something specific. Well, I guess it's specific, but you know what I mean? You're not investing in a thing. You are essentially risking it on the status quo.
On the hope that the status quo will remain in long enough to get you to where you need to be.
Yeah. And I think companies going under probably less of a threat, because if you're good at your job and that job still exists and a company goes, you can go get another version of that job. But the industry changing or going away entirely.
Yeah, those fax machine guys, they don't do much these days.
And it's a real bummer especially when it just changes drastically from what it was when you got in or what you thought it was going to be. I can speak from experience on that one. And I think if you lost a job like that you really loved, it would still be sad. But if you didn't have to go scramble and find work that you didn't want to do, you could do better at your sadness, I suppose. I don't know.
It'd be it becomes
better.
tragic. It becomes tragic when now you struggle to support yourself and you lose that job. It's sad when you lose a job because things change, but it's tragic when you lose a job and you have nothing else to fall back on.
So usually I'm the one who's like, all right, just bring this together, tie the bow. I got to be honest with you, I'm struggling a little bit here to wrap this up, but we definitely want to land this plane here.
Yeah, I'd say really just the way I view retirement is your ability to leave that job or have that job go away and your lifestyle continue. And you're able to do what you want when you want. You're not beholden to a job for the necessities of life. So that could be in your 30s, that can be in your 60s, it can be whenever you want. But I would argue that the whole point of financial freedom, as you call it, is the ability to choose and not having to be tied to something, potentially an industry going away or a job you don't like or what have you. I think that should be the goal that we all invest towards, as it were, is the ability to choose what and when, and to do that as soon as you can.
Yeah, I've been trying to come up with a term to replace retirement. I don't really have one.
It doesn't. It's not. We can't. It doesn't exist.
Well, that's why I was
calling the dictionary people.
Called a neologism. I was going to make it up, but I don't have one that ends with mint as well. So freedom mint. No, that doesn't work.
Freedom mint. There you go.
You're freedom mint. I freed. No, that doesn't work. So well, I guess I'll work on that for another day. But as always, if you guys have any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, notions, what have you, please reach out on any of the platforms we are on or come to our website. And we, as always, appreciate you hanging out with us and hope you do so again next week on another edition of the Get Invested podcast.
See ya.